Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new video. I'm Tom and I'm standing outside of Boston South Station, but it is raining, so let's go inside to ride South Coast Rail. Today is March 24th, 2025, and it is opening day of South Coast Rail, a project that has been decades in the making. We're about to ride a train on tracks that haven't seen passenger service since the 1950s. Well, all of that changes today. It's a really big deal, which is why we're here on opening day. So our train leaves from Boston South Station. Now, if you're looking for South Coast Rail, you don't want to follow signs that say South Coast Rail. Those don't exist. Instead, follow signs to the Fall River New Bedford line. Up until yesterday, that was called the Middleboro Lakeville line. But starting today, it's the Fall River New Bedford line because we are going to Fall River and New Bedford. In the concourse, there was this table where you could get some pins and some brochures, so I helped myself, and then it was through the gates towards track 12, where our Fall River New Bedford line train was already waiting. Now, whether your final destination is Fall River or New Bedford, they are on separate branches, you have to get on this train headed towards Fall River. It's your standard MBTA train, silver and purple on the outside, and whatever you call this on the inside. So I'm on the 11 a.m. departure. We should be leaving in about a minute. In terms of the interior, you know, what's there to say? It's your standard MBTA train. I've been on a bunch of these by now. Very weird color scheme, but overall, comfortable seats, even if they are in a 2x3. Okay, we have departed Boston South Station. It's a little over an hour and a half to Fall River Depot. I'm not entirely sure I'm riding to Fall River Depot yet. I'll explain further along the line. As we leave Boston and head south, we share tracks with the MBTA Greenbush and Kingston lines. Soon, we also align with the MBTA Red Line subway, and this is no coincidence. The Red Line was actually here first. Well, sort of. The history of this train dates back to 1845, when the Fall River Railroad opened tracks between Fall River and South Braintree. At South Braintree, there was a connection to the Old Colony Railroad, which allowed people to get into Boston. Within a decade, the two railroads had merged, and by the 1890s, the New Haven had taken over. The New Haven is probably most famous for their line from New York City to Boston. These connections were most popular around the turn of the century, when it was used by many people to travel between Boston and the South Shore of Massachusetts as well as Cape Cod. However, ridership significantly declined into the 20th century, and the New Haven wanted to abandon passenger service. They infamously closed 88 stations across Massachusetts. After the Second World War, the railroad and the government agreed on a subsidy lasting through 1959. And 1959 is when the last train ran between Boston and Middleboro. After that, a bridge burned down, and that was enough reason for the New Haven never to run service again. Of course, the tracks remained, and so from 1971 to 1980, the Red Line of the MBTA was extended using the right-of-way, eventually reaching Braintree. But commuter rail was eventually in the works. There have been plans to connect Fall River and New Bedford to Boston since at least 1980. However, the first iteration of commuter rail came in 1997. But then in the 1990s, along came a mega project known as the Big Dig. Wait, how did I end up back in Boston? In the 90s, Boston was severely affected by the Big Dig, the construction project that brought the highway underground through the city center. And as part of a lawsuit filed by a conservation group, Massachusetts compensated its citizens by building more commuter rail lines. The Kingston line and the Middleboro Lakeville line were part of that, and so they opened in 1997. South Coast Rail, of course, is an extension of the Middleboro line, with 6 new stations. So that last stop was Bridgewater, and it's kind of hard to look out of the window because of the raindrops, although it looks like the rain has stopped, so that's good. Just a reminder that up until now, everything we've seen so far, you've been able to see for the last almost 30 years. It's been part of the Middleboro Lakeville line. But pretty soon is when we finally enter the new tracks, when we finally start running on South Coast Rail. Just before Middleboro, we reach a junction. our train turns to the right and will eventually stop at the brand new Middleboro station that opened today. The tracks branching off to the left are still used by the seasonal Cape Flyer service that connects Boston to Hyannis, and until yesterday was also used to reach the old Middleboro Lakeville station. That station served as the terminus of the Middleboro Lakeville line until, like I said, yesterday. But starting today, trains use a brand new Middleboro station on the first stretch of South Coast Rail.
Caution, the doors are about to close.
Our next stop will be East Taunton. This is where the branches to Fall River and New Bedford split. And although our train is going to Fall River, passengers to New Bedford need not worry. They'll be able to continue their journey just fine. So that was the new Middleboro station. A very nice new station, long platform in the middle of a Y, yard right behind it. Now we're officially on South Coast Rail. The next stop is East Taunton, and something very special happens there, so that's where I'm going to get off. Alright, so you'll notice I let the train to Fall River leave, and I got on the train on the other side of the track. This is a shuttle that awaits the Fall River train to take people to New Bedford. Unfortunately, we were a little bit delayed coming in, so I didn't have enough time to take a look around East Taunton, but I think I'll be back here later today. So it's a really great solution, honestly. So most of the day, trains run every 70 minutes. And throughout the morning and the afternoon, they run from Boston to Fall River. But there's always a shuttle waiting to take people from East Taunton to New Bedford. Now the way back is even more interesting because it's actually the New Bedford train that goes all the way to Boston, and from Fall River there's a shuttle to East Taunton. It's funny, there were a lot of transit enthusiasts at this station. I could recognize them like running around on the platform, getting pictures, talking to people. Glad to see people came out for this. So the Middleboro line opened in 1997, but like I said, South Coast Rail had been at least conceptually a plan since the 1980s. It really only got serious in the 1990s. In 1998, there was even a groundbreaking ceremony, even though there was no actual construction planned. But in 2002, Governor Mitt Romney canceled the project because the costs were running too high. Thankfully, that wasn't very long. In 2004, studies started again, with the governor's blessing coming in 2005. So this is Church Street Station, the third of the 6 new stations that we visited today. The next stop will be New Bedford, our last stop. You know, design-wise, all the stations kind of look similar, but they're nice, very modern. In 2010, Massachusetts bought the tracks that South Coast Rail uses from CSX. And construction has been a long and time-consuming process. Under the initial timeline, it was supposed to open in 2017. Of course, it's 2025 now, but Phase 1 of South Coast Rail is finally here. Now, notice how I said Phase 1. There is going to be a Phase 2, which will extend the Stoughton branch of the Providence-Stoughton line to East Taunton. And this project comes with a $3.2 billion price tag because it is going to be completely electrified. So electric trains will run from Boston South Station towards Battleship Cove near Fall River. Welcome to New Bedford, Massachusetts. If you've been here by train before, chances are it was in the 1950s. We've just done the first leg of South Coast Rail. Weather sucks and it smells like fish, like you wouldn't believe. But that was great. New Bedford has a population of a little over 100,000. Today, it is famous for the seafood industry, but it also has a rich history, whether it's transportation, abolitionism, or whaling. Did you know that the novel Moby Dick is partly set here in New Bedford? Look at that, they have bicycle parking. Not used very much on a day like today, but glad it's there. Then a very long ramp. Shorter ramp right here. And then of course we have a humongous park and ride and looks like a pedestrian bridge over a highway there. Nice. Well folks, it seems for a little bit I have New Bedford Station entirely to myself. Happy opening day. Okay friends, we are at Fall River Depot, the end of the other branch of South Coast Rail. We're going to get on a train to East Taunton here and then transfer back to Boston South, but we have a little bit of time to look around the station and the vicinity. At first glance, it's very similar to New Bedford. Similar layout, different environment though. You got a parking ride, you got bike parking. The platform is kind of elevated. But let's have a look around. Not a super walkable area. There's a sidewalk on this side, not on that side. Well, maybe there is, but there's no way to get there. Fall River has a population of 94,000. While throughout history it was famous for the textile industry, today it's best known for Battleship Cove, a large collection of World War II era Navy ships. Oh, but what is this? Oh, it leads to an underpass. And this part is plenty walkable. Nice. I spoke too soon. All right, so I am on the train, dry, warm, everything that the outside is not. This is going to bring us to East Taunton, and then I'll take the train to Boston South. I feel like I've said that a million times, but I have a 4:15 Acela I have to catch at South Station. It should be no problem, but there have been delays all day, so I'm not anxious, but I will be happy to be back in Boston, as much fun as this has been today. So our next stop is Freetown. It'll be the sixth and final new station that we see today as part of phase one of South Coast Rail. I'm expecting the station to look pretty much the same as all the other ones, but we shall see. So far, South Coast Rail has been a great experience. I mean, we had a very slow start with the outbound train. It was just racking up a delay, but I feel like I got enough time to see both New Bedford and Fall River Depot stations at least. I would love to come back and actually see the cities, but unfortunately, like I said, I've got to take it out of here this afternoon. Should be coming up on Freetown.
Caution, the doors are about to close.
Back at East Taunton in 7 minutes, the train to South Station will arrive from New Bedford. I'm thinking it might actually be the same train we rode this morning. I noticed that when you compare the existing line to South Coast Rail, service on South Coast Rail is a lot faster and there are more railroad crossings. Interesting. Anyway, while we wait for the train, got some more time to show you around the station because we really didn't get to do that earlier today. So obviously East Taunton is the most built up station out of the six, and it makes sense. I mean, this place has an important transferring function, but there are two pedestrian overpasses to cross the tracks, both going in the same direction. Then there's a parking lot and a bike parking spot, and then whatever this tent is. If somebody knows, let me know in the comments. I'm planning on figuring out this line. All right, finally on the train to Boston. I'll talk to you guys when I'm on the Acela. Back in Boston, our 10-minute delay ended up only being about 6, so that's good, but I still need to hurry to get to my Acela, so we'll debrief there. All right, so I'm on the Acela. It is a 7-hour ride back to Washington, D.C., but that should give us time to debrief. So, South Coast Rail, it was a lot of fun. Honestly, the cold, the rain, the delays, it couldn't take away the fun because how often do you get to ride a brand new rail line on opening day, especially a rail line that is so significant as South Coast Rail? I'm really looking forward to seeing what the ridership numbers are, looking forward to seeing the progress on phase 2, and as always, really looking forward to my next time in Boston. Thanks so much for watching today. See you next time.